For my micro teaching, I'm looking at my second year course, which is MM222 dealing with fluid mechanics, and the lecture is based on flow over an airfoil. The course learning outcome that I'm addressing here is apply the fundamentals of fluid mechanics to solve problems involving fluids. Looking at the lesson learning outcomes, on successful completion of this lecture, students should be able to explain how an airfoil generates lift, should be able to calculate lift and drag, as well as explain the lift characteristics of an airfoil. In order to construct my lecture, I looked at 5 design attributes. This could be different or same for you. The first one is audience. So the audience is my second year mechanical engineering students. If I identify my audience, it helps me to set the level of language as well as the content. Since they will be introduced to this topic for the very first time, it is important the level at which the content is delivered is appropriate to them, as well as the language that is used. The next point that I need to address is the objective or the learning outcome. This has to be made clear to the students so that they are able to link as well as understand the purpose of the lecture in context to their entire course. Looking at the content, it has to be relevant, and we need to address 2 things. It has to be relevant to the students, as well as the content is relevant to the student as well, and we need to use examples which the students can relate to better help them understand the concept and grasp it. The next one is delivery method or technique. So for this, I will be using PowerPoint presentation. Normally I used to use a PDF document, but I want to see if I convert my notes to PowerPoint presentation, whether the visual aids that I use is going to aid or facilitate the students to learn this concept easily, and it's going to be beneficial. And the delivery method, the presentation or the lecture should not only contain text, but it also needs to have images as well as examples, and all of this needs to be time bound. We need to understand that students have a short attention span, and we need to provide or give information in blocks. I'll be looking at how then I constructed my lecture plan. First, I'll be explaining what an airfoil is. I'll use colorful images and graphics in order for them to grasp that concept much easily. Then I'll look at applications of airfoils, again in context to engineering, and again looking at examples that the students can relate to. After this, I will introduce the students to airfoil nomenclature, and then airfoil numbering system and why the numbering system is important, and finally I will look at an example. After completing this, we will begin discussing the forces acting on airfoils, for instance lift force and drag force, the forces acting on an aeroplane while it is in flight, and then simply give a lecture example, go over the lecture example, and it will help the students to understand how the formulas are applied. Next, I will look at how airfoils generates lift. We'll look at the lift characteristics, and here what I'll do is I'll give them images, I will give them graphs which will help them understand as to how an airfoil generates lift and what happens if the angle of attack is changed. I will give them a homework question. This is a formative assessment, and we'll discuss the question in next class. And then I will provide them with additional resources, mostly YouTube video links that will reinforce whatever we have covered in our lectures. And finally, I will have a sum up session. The floor will be open for discussion, so I can get feedback from the students as to what they understood. I can give them some small quiz, or maybe just a verbal quiz, and just see if they have understood the concept. And then if not, then I can prepare my next lecture to address these issues. So thank you for listening to my video, and I look forward to your comments. Thank you.